everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Laura Train Mama. Today we are having a look at this storybook. It's called Troublesome Engines. This is part of the Thomas the Tank Engine book club. The stories contained within it are part of the Railway series number 5, Tenders and Turntables. The big stations at both ends of the line each have a turntable. The Fat Controller had them made so that Edward, Henry, Gordon and James can be turned round. It is dangerous for tender engines to go fast backwards. Tank engines, like Thomas, don't need turntables. They can just go as well backwards as forwards. But if you had heard Gordon talking a short while ago, you would have thought that the Fat Controller had given him a tender just to show how important he was. "You don't understand, little Thomas," said Gordon. "We tender engines have a position to keep up. You haven't a tender, and that makes a difference. It doesn't matter where you go, but we are important. And for the Fat Controller to make his shunt trucks, fetch coaches, and go on some of those dirty sidings, it's not the proper thing." And Gordon puffed away in a dignified manner. Thomas chuckled and went off with Annie and Clarabelle. Arrived at the terminus, Gordon waited till all the passengers had got out. Then, groaning and grumbling, he shunted the coaches to another platform. "Disgraceful, disgraceful," he hissed as he ran backwards to the turntable. The turntable was in a windy place close to the sea. It was only just big enough for Gordon, and if he was not on it just right, he put it out of balance and it made it difficult to turn. Today, Gordon was in a bad temper and the wind was blowing fiercely. His driver tried to make him stop in the right place. Backwards and forwards they went, but Gordon wasn't trying. At last, Gordon's driver gave up. The fireman tried to turn the handle, but Gordon's weight and the strong wind prevented him. The driver and some plate layers and the fireman all tried together. "It's no good," they said at last, mopping their faces. "Your tender upsets the balance. If you were a nice tank engine, you'd be all right. Now you'll have to pull the next train backwards." Gordon came to the platform. Some little boys shouted, "Come on quick, here's a new tank engine." "What a swizz," they said when they came near. "It's only Gordon. Back to front." Gordon hissed emotionally. He puffed to the junction. "Hello," called Thomas. "Playing tank engines? Sensible engine. Take my advice, scrap your tender and have a nice bunker instead." Gordon snorted, but didn't answer. Even James laughed when he saw him. "Take care," hissed Gordon. "You might stick too." "No fear," chuckled James. "I'm not so fat as you." "I mustn't stick," thought James anxiously as he ran to the turntable later. He stopped on just the right place to balance the table. It could now swing easily. His fireman turned the handle. James turned, much too easily. The wind puffed around him like a top. He couldn't stop. At last the wind died down and James stopped turning, but not before Gordon, who had been turning on the loop line, had seen him. Well, he said, "are you playing roundabouts?" Poor James, feeling quite giddy, rolled off to the shed without a word. That night, Henry, Gordon and James had an indignation meeting. It's shameful to treat tender engines like this. Henry gets whooshed by elephants. Gordon has to go backwards and people think he's a tank engine. James spins round like a top and everyone laughs at us. And added to that, the Fat Controller makes us shunt in dirty sidings. Ugh, said all 3 engines together. "Listen," said Gordon. He whispered something to the others. "We'll do it tomorrow. The Fat Controller will look silly." Trouble in the shed. The Fat Controller sat in his office and listened. The Fat Controller frowned and said, "What a nuisance passengers are. How can I work with all this noise?" The station master knocked and came in, looking worried. "There's trouble in the shed, sir." Henry is sulking. There is no train, and the passengers are saying this is a bad railway. Indeed, said the Fat Controller. We cannot allow that. Will you quieten the passengers, please? I will go and speak to Henry. He found Henry, Gordon, and James looking sulky. Come along, Henry, he said. It's time your train was ready. Henry's not going, said Gordon rudely. We won't shunt like common tank engines. We are important tender engines. You fetch our coaches and we will pull them. Tender engines don't shunt. And all 3 engines let off steam in a cheeky way. Oh, indeed, said the Fat Controller severely. We'll see about that. Engines on my railway do as they are told. He hurried away, climbed into his car, and drove to find Edward. The yard has never been the same since Thomas left, he thought sadly. Edward was shunting. Leave those trucks, please, Edward. I want you to push coaches for me in the yard. Thank you, sir. That will be a nice change. That's a good engine, said the Fat Controller kindly. Off you go then. So Edward found coaches for the 3 engines, and that day the trains ran as usual. But when the Fat Controller came next morning, Edward looked unhappy. Gordon came clanking past, hissing rudely. Bless me, said the Fat Controller. What a noise. They all hiss me, sir, answered Edward sadly. They say tender engines don't shunt, and last night they said I had black wheels. I haven't, have I, sir? No, Edward, you have nice blue ones, and I'm proud of you. Tender engines do shunt, but all the same, you'd be happier in your own yard. We need a tank engine here. He went to an engine workshop, and they showed him all sorts of tank engines. There were big ones and little ones. Some looked happy and some looked sad, and some looked at him anxiously, hoping he would choose them. At last he saw a smart little green engine with 4 wheels. That's the one, he thought. If I choose you, will you work hard? Oh, sir, yes, sir. That's a good engine. I'll call you Percy. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, said Percy happily. So he bought Percy and drove him back to the yard. Edward, he called, here's Percy. Will you show him everything? Percy soon learned what he had to do, and they had a happy afternoon. Once Henry came by hissing as usual. Wheesh, said Percy suddenly. Henry jumped and ran back to the shed. How beautifully you wheeshed him, laughed Edward. I can't wheesh like that. Oh, said Percy modestly. That's nothing. You should hear them in the workshop. You have to wheesh loudly to make yourself heard. Next morning, Thomas arrived. The Fat Controller sent for me. I expect he wants help, he said importantly to Edward. Shh, shh, here he comes. Well done, Thomas. You've been quick. Listen, Henry, Gordon and James are sulking. They say they won't shunt like common tank engines, so I have shut them up, and I want you both to run the line. Common tank engines indeed, snorted Thomas. We'll show them. And Percy here will help too, said the Fat Controller. Oh, sir, yes, sir, please, sir, answered Percy excitedly. Edward and Thomas worked the line. Starting at opposite ends, they pulled the trains, whistling cheerfully to each other as they passed. Percy sometimes puffed along the branch line. Thomas was anxious, but both driver and guard promised to take care of Annie and Clarabelle. There were fewer trains, but the passengers didn't mind. They knew the 3 other engines were having a lesson. Henry, Gordon and James stayed shut in the shed and were cold, lonely and miserable. They wished now they hadn't been so silly. That brings us to the end of the storybook, Troublesome Engines. I really hope that you enjoyed listening along with me today, and if you did, please don't forget to hit that like button, share with a friend. You can even check you're subscribed if you wish to be notified of future stories, and have a great day.